So you've torn down your survival pod, and what do you do now? What do you do with those extra components, like the battery, which you don't dare grind down because you'll lose so many power cells? Well, we can turn it into Rover, and that'll make it a lot better because then we can go further. So let's get on that. So we have this battery. It's on the ground right now. It's not much we can do with it on the ground. It's going to be very difficult to get it on top of a rover from this position. But what we can do is just move it along like we did, like we're soccer kicking it. Woo! Poot, 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 poot. See, we can move a battery with our space engineer pretty easily. Unfortunately, without mods, we can't like grab it, lift it up, and then build underneath it. So what we're going to do is something a little bit better than that. We are going to put it on a landing gear on a piston, which we got a bunch of steel plates from our ripping down of the survival kit. I don't know why I keep on calling it a rover. It's not a rover in any such way. We have a bunch of steel plates in our basic assembler in here. We have some of those. And we probably don't need any of these right now. Also, since we got that ROMN station from our survival kit seat, we can take a look to see where it is. It is about 30 kilometers that way, which is a long way to go if you're planning on traveling by rover. So before we can make it to the ROMN station, we'll probably want to build a flight-worthy, air-worthy vehicle. But that's going to be a long ways down the line because there's a lot of stuff we got to do prior to that. We need materials. We need to find a cobalt deposit because we haven't found one of those yet. We found silicon, magnesium, and nickel over there. I'm not sure what's over here yet. And I haven't seen any rocks that we might be able to get stuff from. So we're going to build this rover so that we have a bit more mobility. So what we're going to do first off is, okay, we already got the steel plates. We did that already. So we're going to bring this up a bit. Since we started with the basic setup, we shouldn't have too much issue using our jetpack for most of it. And our location is actually pretty ideal. You're probably wondering, why is this here? What is this? This is our O2H2 generator. Basically, the O2H2 generator we had in the survival pod, I transferred over here with the addition of a couple of extra motors and a couple extra steel plates. Everything else we pretty much had available from tearing down the survival pod. So this will allow us to recharge our bottles. And because it's connected to the system here, we can actually recharge our internal hydrogen as well. And let's top up our power. There we go. So we have that. Let's go find our piston. Our piston is right here. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. And we need a gear, a landing gear. We can put that landing gear right on the bottom here, maybe? Right there. Come on. Come on. We could probably put it there, too. That should be fine. So this is going to allow us to raise this up so that we can actually build around it. So now that we have that built, we can jetpack to the top of it. Jetpack to the top of it. access this, and we're just going to reverse, because the landing gear, when it is first built, it automatically sets it up as auto lock. So right now we have a decent platform in which we can actually start building a rover. It's high enough off the ground. The only thing that we might want to consider doing at this point is by locking the piston. Oh, can we even lock the piston? I thought they disabled that at one point. Okay, we can't lock the piston, but we can share inertia tensor, which is not as good as being able to lock the piston, but it'll work. It'll work. So we have our battery, we have our power plant. So from here we can start building off our rover. Now, the basic rover that we need is just simple. We're just going to use it for scouting. So it's going to be 4 wheels. What wheels are we going to use? That's a great question, because we have some options here. If you are a vanilla player and don't have any DLCs, the only wheels that you'll have access to are the standard wheel suspensions. You can get access to the off-road wheel suspensions plus a bunch of other things by buying the DLC pack. I don't get any cutback from it, so buying it is up to you completely. But I like the look of the off-road wheels more than the standard wheels. So I'm going to use off-road wheels. Now, if you have the DLC pack, off-road wheels have some tells here. Basically, that little yellow thing at the top is the top of the wheel. If you do it this way, like that, that's the wrong way. This is the correct way. Also on the side, I went through this on a previous video, there are those little electrical symbols on the wheel that kind of look like arrows. So you can treat them as arrows. Basically, on the wheel part, which is the part I am looking at right now, that's the direction in which up will be. So if we put down this, like that, we have a wheel. And we can do the same over here. Get another wheel. Awesome, it's looking good so far. Then we just need to extend it out. Now, the thing about light armor blocks is they only require 1 steel plate. Now, as we learned last time, or the time before, a steel plate requires 7 iron ingots. That's for a basic steel plate. A large, 1 steel plate, period. There is no large or small, just 1 steel plate is 7 iron ingots, which is really expensive. Unfortunately, we have no other options when it comes to building a rover. I guess if you wanted to, you could just use what? These. But those motors cost a little more, and there's really no point to doing this. So for rover, just start with your steel plates. I'm going to bring it, let's do 6 out. That's 3, that's a 9. And I'm going to put on another wheel. Right about there. And another wheel here. Now, you may notice that I'm using the off-road wheel suspension left and right. There is no difference between these. The only difference is cosmetic. If you do the left wheels, if I can get the treads going here. Yeah, the only difference is your tread pattern. So this is the tread pattern, and if you're used left all along it, then you'd have all the left wheel tread pattern, and this would be flipped the other way. It's cosmetic. There's no reason behind it. Just do what you want. If you want to go all one type of wheel, do it. Build planner is your friend here. I'm doing my wheels first because I feel like it. Do this. Right click to add to build planner. Right click add to build planner. Right click add to build planner. Now we can weld these up immediately because these only require one steel plate. So we've already put the materials in order to get it. This is going to be a super simple rover. Basically just going to get us around so we can see things and find some materials, which we will be using a detector on. Now, the detector we got off of our previous rover. Not the rover, the survival kit. Keep on calling it a rover. It's not a rover. Rovers are wheeled. Survival kits are not. Now, we could have instead took the survival kit and just built wheels on it. That would have been a decent alternative, but I think I like doing this. I like building, for the most part, fresh, right? Now that we have this, we need a place to sit. Now, we have a couple options. We could go with these cockpits, which they're perfectly fine. Unfortunately, they use a lot of materials, and there's really no reason for us to put a cockpit on because we do not need a sealed environment. So instead, we have control seats that we can put down, or buggy cockpits, or rover cockpits, whichever. I think the rover cockpit is free, while the buggy cockpit is DLC. And we can put this on here. I need an interior plate. And look at that. We now have a rover. Awesome, huh? This is all we need for a rover. There are a few other things that you can put on it, for sure. Like what I'm going to do, I'm going to be putting on the detector. Which we have the components for because... with the exception of the steel plate. We have the components for because we got the detector component from ripping down our previous small ship. Whoops. So this allows us to find ores as deep as 50 meters. Actually, it says it only detects up to 50 meters, which is something you need to make sure you go into the ore detector and raise up. But it does something differently. It goes deeper than that. I'm not entirely sure how it determines that stuff. Gonna turn the steering off on those because these are wheels rear, and these are wheels front. How do I know that? How do I know that these are wheels rear and wheels front? Because when you initially put it on your grid, they go on as 0. So, like suspension 3x3 left, suspension 3x3 left 2. These were the first ones I put on, so it's the 0, and this is the second one, which was the one at the front that I put on. We will want to go into our wheels. and make sure everything is set up. The strength, I'm just going to go up to 10%. The power, we're going to drop down to 30%. Friction is fine. I'll just leave the speed as is. So now we have a rover. It works. But it's also back heavy right now. Which may or may not be a concern. However, whenever we hop over hills or anything like that, or we go off the ground in any way or not, the back's going to come down first. We can control that by putting on a gyro. Now, you do not need to put a gyro on in order to make it function. However, it makes it a lot easier to control if you do put a gyro on. Doesn't matter where you put it here, you can put it there, wherever. Grab the materials, get this done. And then we're just going to release it and tear down our piston and blocks and stuff. Because we don't need those now. So, we have our basic rover. Super easy, super simple. It'll get the job done. It'll get us a lot further than walking. And a lot faster than walking. We can add more stuff to it if we want. Like maybe we want to put an antenna on it or a beacon. I actually want to put an antenna on. Because I may accidentally lose it. I shouldn't, but it might happen. Now, you don't have to worry about the angle in which your antenna is. If you put it this, it's not going to sterilize you. Because you're space engineer. Line of sight doesn't matter on these antennas. However you want to put it. Do you want to bury it? Go for it. But super simple rover, battery, wheels, the gyro, which is completely optional, the detector and antenna, which is completely optional. All you need are wheels, the battery, and a cockpit or a seat. And then you can greeble it, make it look better, etc., add windows, etc. But you don't need to. This is perfectly fine right now. And we can detect stuff. So now that we got our rover, we can... Whoa. Now, there's a problem just in general with wheels. If I'm going straight over terrain, sometimes it'll be like, oh, I want to go this way or I want to go the other way, right? And ice is going to affect our friction. So just keep that in mind. Woo! Okay, what do we got here? Ice, magnesium. That's it? There's got to be more here. Might just be magnesium. Oh, we got silicon. Silicon and magnesium. Okay, so let's do a /GPS and let's just mark it as silicon magnesium. Alternatively, you can just go with the periodic table elements, which is Si or Mg. This thing is pretty spunky. And it speeds up really freaking fast. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Whee! And because I have that gyro, I can actually modify things. Now the gyro, I think we're going to have to turn its power down quite a significant amount. 0.25. go check out this ore spot. What we saw from way over there. Ooh, sweet. We have iron / GPS. Iron or FE. Personally, I just do FE. So we have an iron spot here, which is excellent. Now, what we also need to find is silicon. Not silicon. We found silicon. We need... Oh, cobalt. That's what I was looking for. This is also cobalt. / GPS CO for cobalt. And over here is nickel / GPS and I for nickel. And those are there. We got cobalt. Excellent. Cobalt is one of the next minerals that we need in order to advance our technological capability. I know, crazy, huh? Now, before you go flying off and doing stuff and exploring and such, it's a good idea to figure out where your base is. That was a bounce. Oh, no, no. Oh, flip. Yeah, that could have been worse. Battery took a little bit of damage, but it should be fine. Unfortunately, that puts me at a slight disadvantage here. Because now I need to go back to our base, which I have no idea where it is. I know it's in that direction somewhere. And we do have a tower attached to it. Let's grab this. Oh, there it is. I see it. Right there. Okay, we're going to walk back to the base. And that'll probably be where we end the episode. If you've ever rolled a rover, the best way to get it back on its feet is to do some funkiness, such as putting a control panel on. This is especially if you have a gyroscope, because we can set the gyroscope override on, and then we can do something like this, which will automatically flip it over. Did I go too far? I went too far. Did I break the gyro? I hope not. Gyroscope. No, let's go this way. Come on. Come on, a little more. There we go. It's basically just put on gyroscope, override, and flip it. So now that we're back on its face here, the battery is still working. We went and grabbed a seat. So now we can just drive this back and hopefully not flip it again. I think our base is over here somewhere. Yeah, I think I see it right there. So this rover, it works decently, I guess. Except on ice. Doesn't quite work too well on ice. Isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's our base. Now, we can upgrade and modify this rover as much as we want right now. Right now, I think it needs more weight. So we can add a whole bunch of stuff here. We can add a connector on the back so that we can actually connect to the base. The connector also works as a small cargo container, if you would. Well, a slightly larger small cargo container. It's storage. I think my rover was a little too... I think it's just too light so that's probably why I flipped so easily. I don't have a lot of weight. But anyway, you know what? We got our rover back. It's storming out, and I think that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was helpful in some way or fashion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao!